On May 7, 2026, in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most dangerous sea routes in the world, 3 American destroyers, the USS Truckstone, USS Rafael Peralta, and USS Mason, are slowly passing through. From the coast of Iran, IRGC commanders quietly observe the movement of the ships using surveillance systems and scopes. They think the American ships are exposed. They look like easy targets that have willingly entered Iran's backyard. But what Tehran doesn't know is that's exactly what America wants. Within minutes, Iran will fall into a planned trap that will expose their long-hidden military network. According to reports, the 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers are not just passing through the Strait of Hormuz. They were deliberately made visible and appear vulnerable. And the plan worked. Iran has long used what they call the Mosquito fleet doctrine, a strategy that uses small but fast attack boats, drones, coastal missiles, and surprise attacks from hidden locations. For many years, this has been effective because their launch sites are scattered and hard to detect. There are underground facilities, hidden missile launchers, and secret staging sites in various islands and coastal zones. So when Iran saw the 3 American destroyers that seemed like easy targets, they thought they had a chance to show their strength. But that's exactly what America was waiting for. When Iran started its offensive, the U.S. military surveillance net immediately went into action. They used radar, aircraft, drones, satellites, and naval tracking systems to track in real time every missile launch, drone movement, and movements of Iranian forces. Within just a few minutes, Iran's long-hidden military network began to be revealed. The U.S. military identified various launch positions and support facilities near Qasem Island, Bandar Abbas, Bandar Kamir, and Sarik. According to reports, several coastal missile launchers, drone facilities, fast attack boat staging sites, mine-laying vessels, weapon depots, and logistics centers were hit. While not a single American was hit, what really happened became clear. For many decades, Iran's military strategy has been based on concealment, surprise attacks, underground systems, and swarm tactics to make it difficult for the enemy to retaliate. But this time, it was their own attack that exposed their secrets. While America was recording every move of the Iranian forces in real time using drones, satellites, radar, aircraft, and naval systems, they quickly learned. They identified and targeted the critical parts of the network before it could move equipment. This was not just a simple firefight. The real battle was information, surveillance, and timing. For Iran, the Strait of Hormuz is extremely important because it's a major part of their leverage in the global oil trade and international shipping. So after this incident, many analysts believe that some of the capabilities they built over decades have weakened. In fact, according to sources, reports say that satellite imagery still shows traces of fire and damage near the Strait of Hormuz and Oman after the intense clash with Iranian fast attack boats. And now, one question is on the minds of many military observers. Is this the beginning of a bigger confrontation in the Persian Gulf? Or is this just a clear message from America that they can blow up a strategy that Iran has spent decades building? But even though America's operation in the Strait of Hormuz was successful, it hardly changed anything when it comes to peace talks. In fact, according to some analysts, the situation has become even more complicated. Since the ceasefire began, the United States has reportedly been making a series of concessions to encourage Iran to return to the negotiating table. Washington is hoping that perhaps Iran truly wants to end the tension and agree to a deal that is acceptable to both sides. But instead of Tehran softening its position, the opposite seems to have happened. The hardliners inside Iran have reportedly become even more emboldened. And this is where the situation became even more complicated because, according to reports, there seems to be an internal power struggle happening right now within the Iranian government itself. On one side, there's the IRGC, or Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the military faction known for being aggressive and tough when it comes to foreign policy. On the other side, there's the civilian government of Iran, which is reportedly more open to diplomatic talks and possible compromise. According to a report by the New York Post yesterday, while the very fragile ceasefire between America and Iran continues, the strong influence of the Revolutionary Guard within the country reportedly remains. And because of this, the mediation talks with the United States are becoming even more complicated. There are groups that reportedly want to continue the talks to avoid a bigger war. But there is also a faction that believes Iran should not back down and that they should continue to put pressure on America. That's why, until now, Iran is still divided on which direction to take. The other day, the whole world was still waiting for Iran's official response to the latest proposal sent by the United States. But according to some observers, this isn't really a full peace deal. It's more like a temporary agreement where both countries will agree to continue negotiations for the next 30 days while keeping the Strait of Hormuz open and gradually easing some blockade measures. This is the memorandum of understanding that the United States reportedly sent to Iran a few days ago, and yesterday was the set deadline for Tehran to respond. President Donald Trump himself confirmed that they are waiting for an official response from Iran before the end of the day. But as time passes, the situation becomes even more unusual because up to now, there is still no clear answer. There is no confirmation from America, no official statement from Iran, and even Pakistan, which is one of the countries possibly helping with mediation efforts, has not released any clear details. Iran did not say yes, but they also did not say no. And for many analysts, this could mean a lot of things. From the most optimistic perspective, it's possible that the different factions within Iran have not yet reached a consensus on what their decision should be. Some may want to accept the proposal while others want to keep the tension going. But there is also a more troubling interpretation. It's possible that Iran quietly rejected America's proposal, just like in a normal conversation sometimes when there's no reply, that's already the answer. And right now, that's the most intriguing part of the situation, because more than 12 hours have passed since Iran was supposed to give an answer. But all sides remain silent. The longer the silence lasts, the more questions arise. Is Iran really still deciding? Or is there a bigger move lurking behind this silence? And according to reports, President Trump made another important statement yesterday that further heightened tensions throughout the region. According to President Donald Trump, if Iran does not respond or completely rejects the Memorandum of Understanding, it only means one thing. What they call Project Freedom will return. And if that happens, more aggressive American operations in the Strait of Hormuz will begin again. This means that U.S. warships will resume moving in and out of the Persian Gulf nonstop, while escorting cargo ships and oil tankers to ensure the steady flow of trade and oil in the region. In other words, America wants to make sure that one of the most important shipping routes in the world remains open, even if Iran objects. But according to Trump, it's possible that it won't just be a simple return of Project Freedom.
Some will say freedom because some things didn't happen, but for them, it's Project Freedom Plus.
He mentioned that it could even become Project Freedom Plus, which means a broader and more intense operation using other military systems and additional support assets. And this is where the conversation became even more interesting. Because while the United States is showing that they are ready to resume operations at any time, many different stories also came out about why Project Freedom was suddenly paused in the first place. According to the official statement from the White House, it was suspended as a goodwill gesture to give Iran a chance to consider the U.S. proposal and return to the negotiation table.
That is very clear about the topics they are willing to negotiate on and the extent of the concessions they are willing to make.
This is said to be one of the concessions made by the United States since the ceasefire began. So if Iran completely refuses to respond, or if it is found out that they outright rejected the deal, operations will almost certainly resume. But there is another narrative that is quietly spreading in the media in America, and this is the more sensitive part. According to some reports, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain were not pleased when the United States announced Project Freedom without directly consulting them first. Because of the reality of the situation, America cannot carry out such a large naval operation without the support of the Gulf countries. The U.S. needs access to Saudi airspace and possibly even the airspace of other Gulf countries to monitor their warships and also to protect civilians and vessels returning to normal operations in the Persian Gulf. Aside from that, the use of air bases in the region is also important for surveillance, refueling, and rapid military response in case new tensions arise. But according to reports, at first Saudi Arabia allegedly refused to allow America to use some of its air bases and airspace because they were not immediately included in the planning of the operation. And if that's true, that would have been a big problem for them. But just a day after the report came out, it seems Saudi Arabia changed direction, and there was reportedly a sudden shift in their position. In the end, the Saudi government reportedly agreed to let America use their bases, especially if the goal was to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. And that's not surprising because almost every country in the Gulf region wants the Strait of Hormuz to remain open, everyone except Iran. Because for Tehran, America's blockade is like slowly strangling their economy. As the tension drags on, it hits ordinary Iranian citizens even harder. According to reports, annual inflation in Iran has reached as high as 50%. Even worse, food inflation has reportedly exceeded 100%. This means that food prices almost double every year. The value of the Iranian rial also continues to fall. It's at a record low, and as the economic crisis worsens, many Iranians who have the means to leave are moving their money out of the country, because for many they're no longer sure what will happen next. And there's another development that made people even more anxious. Recently, the Iranian judiciary confiscated more than 200 properties from people they accused of opposing the state, even without a public trial or a proper hearing. As the economic crisis worsens, more Iranians are losing their businesses, jobs, and savings, while the government desperately looks for money. At the same time, an Iranian parliament member was the first to admit since the war began on February 28 that the supreme leader of Iran was injured in the first wave of attacks. According to the official, the workplace and home of Ayatollah Mujtaba Hosseini Khamenei were specifically targeted. He was reportedly on the stairs when the missile exploded. He sustained injuries to his knee and back, but he insisted that the wounds were only minor and that he is in good condition. But many analysts are doubtful because, up to now, there is still no video or voice recording from the supreme leader, while other Iranian officials and IRGC commanders are able to travel freely and appear in public during the ceasefire. Because of this, some people are becoming more suspicious that the condition of the Iranian leader is actually worse than what the government is admitting.